guys, it's Captain Harris. Welcome back to the channel. I have something to tell you all today, though. I think I need to step down from the channel as I'm disqualified from being a Maiden fan. So, passing ownership over to James, and I guess I'll just...
Wow, she's actually gone. My master plan for taking this channel is finally complete. Little did she know I was the one that posted that comment about Maiden not being for girls. Now I have control of a very small YouTube channel. Wait, I don't know how to run a YouTube channel.
Never mind. Come on back.
Anyways, today we're here for a little video idea I had the other day pertaining to Iron Maiden and their stage productions. Obviously, it's 90% Iron Maiden over here on the Captain Harris channel, but I love their stage productions. They've had many great ones through the years, and I thought of doing a ranking. But as I was putting them all together, I realized it was going to be very difficult for me, an incredibly indecisive person, to rank them. So I didn't tell you about this, but I did a little something different for this. I'm ranking them in their own little groups. So we've got the 80s, 90s, reunion 2000s, those two are together, and then the 2010s to present.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense.
So I've ranked them in their little tiers instead of doing it like, okay, 1 through 22 or 23, I think it was.
Now, are you ranking them based on the entire show? So it has nothing to do with the set list.
No.
Nothing to do with the Eddies.
It's a stage production, so the Eddies are part of it.
Maybe the big Eddies?
Well, I mean, it's the whole production. So,
okay.
In terms of like just...
the best stage show.
Yes. Lighting rigs, stage setup, and everything, so... A few of these were a bit hard to find any good quality photos of because it was like an era that wasn't really cared about and there's not a whole lot of footage of, so I did my very best.
Okay, well, let's see what you got.
So, we'll start... Don't you look at my phone. I'll tell you. So, we're going to start with the 80s, of course, and there is 6 in this tier. And all of them are very good, so I feel bad giving anything number 6, but I have given number 6 to World Peace Tour. I love the lighting rig and everything. It's iconic for them.
Is it a different lighting rig than Number of the Beast, do you think?
I'm not 100% sure, but I've got the pictures here. So, there's not a whole lot going on this stage. It's pretty, it's pretty cool
now,
for the time.
Was this not the first stage show where Bruce was getting up behind everybody?
Some pipes.
Oh yeah, I never noticed those pipes.
I'm not sure. No, that lighting rig's just so cool.
It looks like this is the first setup where Bruce can run around the podiums in the back.
And then, obviously, the Eddie was very cool with him getting his brains ripped out. And
that era, the Eddies were very fast-moving. It was definitely on something. So they had to slow him down by pulling his brains out.
So yeah, that's my number 6.
It's pretty bare bones. I mean...
And number 5, I didn't see, too many photos of those early days ones. So I've kind of lumped the first album tour and Killers into one because there was a lot of opening... for bands on that tour.
Yeah, they were support for a lot of
there
that tour.
Wasn't a huge production for it, but what there was really cool. It's just classic. You've got the original Eddie back there, and he would spew the steam out of his mouth, or the dry ice, whatever they used for it, just like they did in the old days. And it wasn't crazy, but, imagine seeing that back in the 80s. That's, see, they're opening for Kiss there. It's just a little banner, so I think that was, it was one of those tours, but it was hard to find.
Did that sign light up?
I don't know. People who were around back then, did that sign light up? So that's my number 5. And then number 4 is Beast on the Road. Does not look like the same lighting rig to me, but I love those really colorful old 80s lighting rigs.
Yeah, those very harsh yellows and blues.
Greens, yellow, blue. It's just great. And on this one, they had the cool, looks like, hand-painted Eddie and the triangle in the back.
That's almost reminding me of Book of Souls.
Yeah.
It's just a triangle version of Eddie.
And I feel like they had a really good Eddie for the times on this stage.
Yeah, he's very bulky, but
But for being a young band, like, you're only on your third album, it's early 80s, that was pretty damn good, Eddie.
Well, Number of the Beast was the first big Eddie, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then you have the little devils.
Right, you get a couple of crew members dressed as devils.
So no, you got the little risers, you can get stairs going up. And,
they definitely tried.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool. I would have liked to see that one in person. So number 3 is Somewhere on Tour. So this is a Somewhere in Time tour. Okay. The lighting rig on this boy is cool. Look at that. Like, from that angle,
that's ridiculous.
It's sick. And of course, we have plenty of pyro. You've got the stairs going up so the guys can run around.
Like, I love the stairs on the side.
James and I were talking the other day, like, we want to see the Maiden guitarists go up the risers
Get up on those risers where Bruce is. I mean, I know they got 3 guitar players.
Well, one of them can just stand out in the front of the drum kit, and then there's 2, and then they make a triangle.
Well, the way they used to do it was they'd have Dave on the left, Adrian on the right, and then Steve would be in front of the drums. But they could still do that with Bruce out front. They just have Yannick behind, or have Adrian right in the center behind the drums, and have Yannick on the right.
Yeah, so they had the stairs for Bruce and the guitarists and all that. And then, of course, we have the blow-up Eddie with the hands, with the fingies.
Now, this is the first inflatables that they ever brought out. It's such a shame they didn't get quality footage of this tour.
I know. And I know that these hands failed a lot. Apparently on this tour, they didn't.
You would just get the middle finger.
They didn't work a lot of the time, but this was a really cool stage. I know on their intro they had the little bits that lit up during Blade Runner. So yeah, solid number 3 for me. As I said, every stage in this era of Maiden was cool in my opinion. For especially like those early days, for what they had, like they made it good. And my number 2 is World Slavery.
Oh, it's not number 1?
No, it's not. But, obviously that was their biggest production to date at that time. Like,
well, it feels like at that time, after Peace of Mind, they were like, okay, that was fun.
We have money now.
Let's pour money into this show and take it everywhere.
Right, because you went from Peace of Mind having not a whole lot going on the stage to, like, everything going on. The big Eddie in the back, like, I can't imagine that coming out, like, back then.
The scale of the band just grew, like, 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
From Peace of Mind to this show, and they definitely planned it that way, and they knew how to market it.
I love the little stairs going up to the drum riser for Steve. Like, I just love that everything has its little bits of theming. Like, they didn't have to put these, like, little hieroglyphs on there, but they still did.
And that's the part that didn't show back up in Somewhere Back in Time, did it?
I think it might have.
Those little steps?
I think it might have.
Okay.
Because I was looking at them yesterday. And of course, that makes my number 1 for the 80s, the Seventh Son tour.
Seventh Son, and we just recently watched the 88 DVD.
Yeah.
And there's so much depth in that stage, from song to song, just the way the lighting changes and all the little props they add in to create this 3D look. I definitely agree. I think it's the best looking show and the most well thought out show.
Absolutely. I mean,
now, World Slavery may be the most famous and the most classic.
And it's cool. Like, it's a great stage with amazing theming. But
I think they peaked. They peaked in '88.
Yeah.
And musically and with the stage show, and it's just the greatest show they ever did.
Come on.
Yeah, you just can't. You can't beat that.
The lighting, like, all of the lighting rigs in the 80s were just sick. They all were super unique to their tour. And I don't know, it's silly to think of, like, that lighting rig's so iconic, but it is. Like, you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that's World Slavery tour. Oh, that's the Peace of Mind tour. But
and it's so great because they're obviously known for having fantastic music, but knowing that they're just as famous for their stage show.
Right, like they're putting just as much thought into what they bring to a live setting.
Right, like you're getting your money's worth from these shows.
And of course that Eddie was really cool, even back then.
Well, what was money worth back then? People probably paid about $9 to see this show. What did you pay to see the Seventh Son tour?
Yeah, don't make me jealous.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, that might be my favorite stage, period.
It's not mine. I do know what my first favorite is, and I'll say that when the time comes. But this is definitely
So this is the winner of this group.
It's probably top 3 still for me.
Okay.
So, we're moving on to the 90s.
Oh, the best era.
This was where I had some trouble finding, like, photos and stuff. So
Because nobody was at the shows.
We'll try to, like, pop in some video footage where we can.
Okay.
Of these. But we have 6 in this tier, but I've lumped 2 into the same ranking because I have a feeling they're the same stage because I really couldn't find any difference whatsoever.
Let me guess. Is it No Prayer and Fear of the Dark?
No.
Oh.
It's Fear of the Dark and a real live tour.
Oh, I didn't consider a real live tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got the oddball tours in here, like Ed Hunter and
Good.
Give Me
Cool.
Ed and stuff like that.
I like that we're touching on those.
No, we're not. I mean, they all have their own productions, so clearly I have to
All right,
rank them.
Let's go.
So, number 5 is No Prayer on the Road.
Oh,
they went from the coolest stage set they'd ever done to, like,
One of the lamest.
oh my god, they were just like, yeah, we're stripping down, we're gonna get more serious in 90s, and...
It's so silly that, like, not only did they say we're going to strip down our sound and make a couple silly songs, but, like, we're also going to strip down the show we're known for.
The floor was okay. You know, they get cool floor prints
Good
sometimes.
floor. Great floor.
They do. You know, they put time into that. Most of the people don't see it, but sometimes
I don't remember the floor from
that's it.
from that tour.
It's just some stripes. It was just a wall of amps. Like, you know, it's Motorhead. Motorhead does their thing with the amps, and it's cool. But that was not Maiden. It's not Maiden to do that.
Every band has done that.
I know.
And seeing Maiden do it was just like, why are you trying to blend in?
Like, you did so well on the Seven Sun tour, and here we are. The Eddie, you know, he's like, I feel like he's a downgrade. I feel like the Number of the Beast Eddie was cooler than that one.
Yeah, I think Number of the Beast was better than that, Eddie.
But, yep, just, like, not much to say about it. Just a wall of amps and...
So that's the worst of the group.
Yeah, and then number 4 is the X Factor.
Oh.
You know, I like that they came up with, like, these cheeky little names for all the tours. Like, oh, World Peace Tour, World Slavery, Somewhere on Tour,
Yeah.
X Factor.
X Factor is very creative. Well
Yeah.
done. Now, from videos I've seen, I can't think of even one thing that was in that show.
A lot of pipes and
More pipes?
like bent metal and stuff like that. I only found screenshots that looked okay. Like, you know, it's a step up from No Prayer. I'll give them that. But it looks like, you know, kind of like the kind of art they did for the Alien movie, and I don't know, it's all right, but it still doesn't stand
Very
up.
dark. I mean, it's very dark. It's gloomy looking.
It fits the theme of the album.
Yeah.
But-
It's sad dad vibes.
But otherwise, like, you know, it's not the worst, it's not the best.
Was there a Big Eddie for that tour?
I didn't find any pictures, but I also didn't look at the footage. So if there was a Big Eddie, we
Let us
will
know.
know. If there was a Big Eddie, we will put a video of it here if we find it. Number 3 was actually the Virtual 11 tour.
I've probably seen the least amount of footage from that tour.
I was gonna say the same
I
thing.
couldn't even tell you what it looked
And
like.
the only pictures I came across were the ones that had the big blow up Eddie. I think that's a blow up.
Wow, I love the way they did the South Park Canadian head.
Yeah, I don't know why he has a broken jaw, but, you know, the stage had some better theming in it. That's why I bumped it up from X Factor. Like, I don't know if that's I can't tell because it's kind of like, you know, grainy photos, but it looks like it could be like a dungeon or a graveyard or just ruins in general. You know, I respect that they gave it a shot.
They tried,
Yeah.
and I don't think they had necessarily the best budget for this
No.
at this point. This was probably the worst financial era for the band, so...
Yeah, so still pretty cool to me. I know a lot of people probably would hate it just because it's Virtual 11, but
I'd like to see it now.
But honestly, I'd like to see any of them except like No Prayer, really, because I've seen Motorhead, so it's basically the same thing. So number 2 is where it got kind of weird with Fear of the Dark and a Real Live tour just looking like the exact same thing.
Yeah, well, clearly they were the same thing.
I think that this one was supposed to be from a Real Live tour. Again, it just goes back to exactly kind of what they did for
No Prayer?
for No Prayer.
With all the amps.
Yeah, but you've got, you know, Fear of the Dark Eddie background and a big Fear of the Dark Eddie head. And, you know, we had some couple of shows that had the big ugly walk-on Eddie, but I think they stuck with the inflatable guy for most of the other shows.
Yeah, I think he was just falling apart every time he walked
So,
out.
you know, I like the lighting rig. I like the big Eddie that came up, and so that's gets a few more points for me than
Yeah,
no prayer on
it's
that.
the Sticks and Twigs tour.
The Sticks and Twigs. And then my number one was Ed Hunter. And of course, we actually watched this one the other day, and I love the callback they did on Legacy with playing Transylvania, showing off the Legacy of the Beast game, whereas like back then they played Transylvania, showing off the Ed Hunter game,
Right,
and it's
we
like
had no idea they were copying themselves from Legacy of the Beast.
it's like, oh, I basically witnessed like the same thing they did on Ed Hunter.
It's definitely interesting to me that they decided to keep Ed Hunter as the walk-on Eddie through the Brave New World tour.
Yeah.
But I guess how are they going to put a Cloud on stage?
Okay, so now we're moving on to the reunion era, the 2000s.
Well, these are good.
Oh yeah, they're good. The 90s was kind of the only real
Step back
for me. Like, I love Maiden's productions. That's just, it's something I nitpick over, and I love, it's just like an I Spy game,
It's 50% of why I love them.
You sit there and you're like, oh, I never noticed that before.
Yep.
So there are 6 in this one, and my number 6 is Eddie Rips Up in 2005.
Where they had all the old Eds as artwork all over the walls.
And it was really cool because it was just basically an Eddie themed tour.
Yeah.
So I like the weird little metal arch that they did back there. I thought that was kind of a creative touch. All their different Eddies, and this guy whose brain came out during Iron Maiden.
Is that the titanium Eddie face?
Yeah, it's from, I think, Visions of the Beast.
Ah, yes.
And he's like the liquid metal one, just like forms.
I mean, we've all seen Live at Ulevi, although I don't think in that you see the full scope of it because it's all in daylight.
Yeah. So
in fact, I've actually never seen footage then of this show in the dark.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is much better.
My number 5 is Matter of Life and Death.
Ooh. That I'm kind of surprised that's that far down.
Really? It's 2000s. We got some good shit in there.
I would think it would be better than even Brave New World.
I don't know. I mean, I was looking at pictures and ranking it based off pictures and, what I remember of footage.
The Green Tour.
So, you've got like the sandbags piled up, printed onto the riser backdrop, and Tank Eddie is always cool. Obviously, the sandbags out front. It's not like it was the craziest stage. It was definitely well themed for the album, but
I guess it's pretty simple.
it is pretty simple. It worked for the album, but like just compared to the other ones that they had during this era.
I mean, I guess there's not a ton of depth or anything.
No.
But, I love that era.
Number 4 for me is Brave New World.
The Scaffolding Tour.
The Scaffolding Tour, we had this neat Wicker Man Eddie who came out with his red glowing eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there like dancers inside of him too?
Yes, there was dancers beckoning Bruce inside.
But yeah, scaffolding was really cool. Bit of depth with that background. I don't know, just Rock and Rio.
Where did the idea of the scaffolding come in from?
I don't know.
I don't know how it matches
the turn of the
album or
millennia.
We're building a brave new world. We're building it up with scaffolding.
Yeah. No, it brings back, Rock and Rio for me, so it's just like it puts it up there a few ticks, but maybe if I never saw Rock and Rio or something, it would be...
I mean, I'm thinking of Rock and Rio, but looking back, I'm not thinking really of how great the stage show was. I remember Wicker Man Eddie was really cool. But other than that, I'm just thinking about the band performing.
Yeah, no, I just thought the use of lighting and stuff on that was really cool too, because that could change a whole, setting of a stage.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Give Me Ed Till I'm Dead.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with this one.
I wasn't either.
So what year was this tour?
It was 2003 from May until the end of August, so it was like just before Dance of Death, which in itself was also a very short tour.
Right, yeah. I remember asking people when we were on the road and being like, wait, what did Maiden do in 2003?
Yeah. Kind of a remade Peace of Mind Eddie. It's the big Eddie.
That doesn't look much like Peace of Mind Eddie.
Yeah, but he had the straitjacket on, so it is him. It was a very, very colorful stage. I hadn't really seen any good pictures of it before. So no, I thought it was very cool production. I would have liked to seen it.
I'd say that for any of these.
Almost. In this era, yes, but previous era could give a couple of pass.
Yeah, I guess so.
Number 2 is Dance of Death.
Dance of Death is cool. It's almost like classic heavy metal. It's like callback to what Dio would do with the
It was just sick. Like, it was just
Yeah.
a dungeon, and
Exactly.
like you had like the Reaper statues, and again with the depth and stuff. Like, oh my god, the gates are opening, and there's,
Death Eddie.
Reaper Eddie. Yeah, I just love like the brickwork look. I like how they can make like a flat surface look so well,
The way they filmed Death on the Road, it really felt special seeing them play in front of
Yeah.
that stage. Like it actually felt like a real castle. It didn't look like it was fabricated or anything. It looked like the venue looked like that.
Eddie had his finger pointing out to the crowd.
Yeah,
Like he's gonna
excellent.
get you.
Excellent tour.
And then of course that makes my number 1 of this era, Somewhere Back in Time.
I would agree.
So this obviously
It's a
was,
rehash, of course.
It's a rehash. It's very close to what they originally did, which is cool because it's like, the fans who never got to see that kind of got to see it.
But it's also different because it mixed in the other 80s eras, as well as they could. There were some backdrops for like Heaven Can Wait had a Somewhere in Time backdrop.
Excellent pyro.
Yes.
Like, excellent pyro. Like, that Mariner, amazing.
So would you say that this stage show was better than World Slavery, or
I don't know. It's hard to pick. They're so close.
I love seeing this stage because it reminds me of the whole 80s material that they had and they played on that tour. But you just can't get away from the fact that the Power Slave era was so big for them.
Yeah.
And that stage was so original at the time. So I
Exactly.
think I'd have to give it to World Slavery.
I would as well.
It's hard to tell somewhat, if they got the color gradients correct, against the original tour, because the old photos, everything looks a bit, darker.
Yeah, it's just cool to have kind of the same original Eddie back and everything.
Yeah. So I think one more time, please bring this stage back.
No, twice was enough. I understand we didn't get to see it,
But we haven't seen it.
I know we haven't seen it, but they've done it twice, and that's good enough for their career. They only have so many years left. I want as much diversity as we can get.
Okay, but hear me out.
No. Hear you out what?
Legacy, they did Realms. Why couldn't they do Realms of classic Maiden stages, couple songs, and just keep ripping them back?
Because the crew might kill them.
The crew is paid handsomely.
Yeah, but I think they also prefer a nice stagnant stage after what they had to deal with in freaking 2022.
Well, they have to beat that now.
Taking all the roof tiles off.
Yeah, a 4-minute segment of
Every
removing
single
roof
night
tiles,
we're just sitting there in the dark watching them like all these pieces.
listening to the same piece of over the speakers.
Yeah, I don't think the crew wants to deal with that again.
Okay, well, they're up for it.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the most recent, the most recent tours from...
From
that-
Final Frontier.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just kind of wanted to get a decent amount of numbers per group. It's like about 6. This one only has 5. But my number 5 was Maiden England, and this is the only like one stage that I find fairly disappointing in the last like 20, almost 30 years now.
I would definitely agree, and ignoring the set list choices, just the show.
Set list was great. Like, look,
Everything felt very
nothing.
flat.
there's nothing going on here.
Like they put a couple of props up on the back wall, but and I think the Eddies were
He's
just as
amazing.
good. The Eddies are just as good.
The
as
Eddies
the 80s.
were like god tier, amazing. Like,
clairvoyant.
what was that? That was like the last time they did fiberglass Eddies too, which
Yeah.
I loved. Like, I love the big fiberglass ones that come back in the stage.
Yeah, we need
And,
some more of those.
The blow-ups are cool. I get safe space, but like, God, look at this
You
guy.
just can't beat the 3D element of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the stage, it just looks like a blue stage.
The pyro on that tour though was so cool. Like, they had the sparklers and stuff during Run to the Hills. And
Yeah. But, they were asking for it to be compared to the original Seventh Son tour, so we have to do the comparison.
Of course.
They didn't think too hard about, the lighting or the depth or anything. They didn't really look far back into the previous tour. They just kind of did like a...
They just did like a printed on, like, riser background and stuff, which was just like, it was okay, but...
Yeah, it was fine.
I also don't understand why they had the Final Frontier Eddie face for Number of the Beast.
That
was a very weird choice, and I get that it was right after that tour, but
there were some strange choices.
Like there wasn't another backdrop, like Final Frontier on like the imagery for Seventh Son, just as like kind of an odd look.
So let's mix Number of the Beast, Final Frontier, and Seventh Son.
He's so cool. I love that Eddie, and they had like the little guy in the womb moving around and everything too.
I forgot he had fire coming out of his head.
Yeah.
Oh
man. Yeah, so that one I gotta give credit to those Eddies, but
they did bring out the organ.
Yes,
so they definitely tried, but it was just kind of the basic depth of the show that we saw in the '80s. It was not there.
Yeah, and I feel like I have a bit more to say about these tours because I've seen every single tour in this tier now, so yes. I have a bit more I can speak on personally. But yeah, I forgot about the organ. That's cool. But even with the Eddies, even with the organs, the other tours just they did more for me. Number 4 is The Future Past.
Okay, yeah.
And this stage was incredible. I absolutely loved it. It opens up. And we've got these 2 amazing Eddies. First time ever, I think, using digital screens on stage.
It only took 40-something years.
Which is scary to a Maiden fan because you don't want them to change.
We don't like change.
You don't want to be Megadeth with just all the screens and stuff in the background.
It just felt like every band has relied on putting screens behind them at this point, and I don't want Maiden to do it.
No, I love that they still do the backdrops.
But this was a correct choice where it was like, hey, we can utilize something that, feels more futuristic.
He's a cyborg!
Seeing screens at a Maiden show feels futuristic.
Yeah. So they did something cool with it where, like, in recent years, they've had, like, the towers on each side of the stage, and they put it where, like, the towers would have gone.
Yes.
So it's kind of in place of that, and I think it works very well.
Yeah, so do I.
But my God, when they unveiled that background during Caught Somewhere in Time,
the
like
colors
on that are
it penetrates your skin. It's so colorful.
It's just amazing. And the reason this is lower on the list is because it's kind of again like Maiden England. There's not a whole lot going on in terms of just like the intricacies of the stage itself.
And unlike the way we could compare Maiden England to the old Seventh Son tour, I really can't compare this tour to the Somewhere on Tour.
Well, this is kind of a hybrid tour anyway.
It's a hybrid tour. They're not trying to match it.
I feel like it would have been more well-matched had it just been a tour for that album.
However, if you've seen our video in Ljubljana, you can see how much we were freaking out when the intro starts for Blade Runner and those line lights.
I love those like neon blue lights.
It's
like
just amazing.
All across the stage. The lighting rig is so cool. Again, with the lighting rigs, like that's one of my favorites.
The way it amps you up, and then Caught Somewhere in Time starts to play on tape, and then that blast out with the pyro. Yeah. It's one of the best moments we've seen.
And then, of course, speaking on pyro, Hell on Earth, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're still singed from that.
You go through the whole show thinking, oh, there's not a whole lot of pyro in this. It's like, oh, there's where the budget went.
Yeah. They had a bunch of gas cans back there. They spent the whole show filling those things up with gas.
And then, of course, you had the red blow-up Senjutsu Eddie, which isn't my favorite, but I understand why they used it, because I think that they clearly made like a whole production for Senjutsu.
They did.
And they had to use it over a couple of tours to make sure they got their money out of it. So
I still, as much as I understand the choice, I really wish they did go with a Somewhere in Time big Eddie head in the back, whether inflatable or not.
I get it though.
It's just, the Senjutsu head. It's nothing really memorable.
No, it's not. And it probably would have been better had it been like an actual Senjutsu tour.
Absolutely, but yeah, to me, it's just with Cyborg. For most people, I feel like is the coolest Eddie.
And the walk-on Eddies, we've got Stranger, and we've got the one same Eddie comes out without the hat and waistcoat, and that Eddie is a downgrade from the Somewhere Back in Time one for me. I've said it before. I know they have a new guy making it, but again, with like the fiberglass rather than this one looks like it's made out of like latex or silicone. It's something more flexible.
They got more movement out of it.
I know.
But the overall look, it doesn't really look much like the album Eddie.
I know that they couldn't have had the gunfight in the other one because he's very stiff and just has like the gun that does like this. So
like he works. They wouldn't have been able to do this gunfight with the old Eddie from somewhere back in time. But I think it would work if they just did his face. Like the fact that his face is like this, it's just a little jarring.
Yeah, no, and I know it's kind of like unfair to compare the two in a way because it's like he had a different job to do than the other, but it's like I can't help but compare it because you made this one like over 10 years prior and it looked so good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then obviously we have the Senjutsu Eddie from the previous tour as well, which is amazing. I think that one is so cool.
Yeah, very cool stage, but I think we can beat it.
Number 3 is the Final Frontier.
Very, very futuristic. In space, we got the towers. They filmed it.
This one had a lot of great depth for me. I talk about depth a lot in their stages. I can't help it. It's so cool when they just like create this atmosphere with, you know, the collection of backdrops, towers, just intricate little details and stuff.
I forgot about the starry background.
Oh, it's so good.
It really works well.
So good. I love the one that had like all the little planets and stuff on it. Walk on Eddie was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, he could play guitar.
I was very jealous of all the people who got the big fiberglass Eddie that came up in the back. They didn't bother bringing that to Florida when they came, but
it is what it is.
No, I just love like the whole space station look. Like I think they nailed it as far as like the theming for the album goes.
I think this is on par with classic Maiden sets.
You know, maybe I have a little bit of bias since that was my first time ever seeing them, but I love it.
See, this makes me think of Alien.
And again, with the lighting rig, I know they didn't get that on the 2010 tour, but on the 2011 tour, that lighting rig looked like a spaceship like coming out over the audience. I was thrilled to see that.
Well, that was the first time we saw them, so you know that show is just legendary for us.
Yeah. Number 2 is the Book of Souls tour.
Oh, I love Book of Souls tour.
We all love Book of Souls tour. They
went
all out for this, and I was. The first night of that tour, it was a few rows back, and, you know, I'm kind of short. I can't see very well, but I saw, like, this guy in the background, the Eddie face, and all, like, the sculpting in the riser backdrop. Oh, my God, I was like, there's so much detail in this one. Like, you've got the torches that come up for the first song. The pyramid backdrop makes it look so, like, just big.
Yeah, the lighting rig. I think of it as like the Purple tour.
It had the vines hanging down from the ceiling, and
I forgot about that.
Nico's drum kit was like, I love the way Nico's drum kit
That
stood
gold
out.
kit.
It was gold against like all the like blues and grays and
thinking about the first moments of the show with Bruce over that cauldron.
the Eddie's head exploding.
Yes.
Like that was an inflatable, but that was cool. Like having it explode like that.
Yeah, great inflatable Eddie. Great walk on Eddie.
Big towers with the guys' faces on them.
The totem poles.
Yeah,
right here.
They look kind of like that.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Eddie in the Circle that came out, I think, during, like, what, Blood Brothers?
I think that was for Wasted Years. Right at the end.
Thought he came out. I don't know. I haven't seen the show in a while.
I believe it's Wasted Years. And I again think that's a bit of a callback to the early days of putting Eddie up on a thing.
Yeah. So that leaves my number 1 to Legacy of the Beast. And I've grouped both tours into one because I feel like it's kind of stupid to be like, oh, the 2018 and 2019 and 2022 because they were different. Like, okay, we're just going to like, it's all kind of the same, you know. So you had the War Realm. And I was like, oh, this is cool, I guess. And then they take all of that off and you get like this.
I think that reveal for Revelations is
one of the greatest moments.
Like top 3 Maiden moments ever.
Right. Like, you know, we saw this show a fair few number of times, and just the sound that the crowd made every time.
You would hear 12,000 people behind you go,
I mean, it was genuinely, like, beautiful. Like, so colorful and so much work put into it.
It's something only Maiden could have thought of.
Yeah. And then, of course, the plane coming out for Aces High on that first song. Last song sometimes. The hell stage literally looked like you were in hell. The chandeliers coming down. The pyro for sign of the cross.
Yeah, that inflatable Eddie was scaring the Christians behind us.
Oh my god, like that's just, it literally is, like, I don't blame that woman. That's demonic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
but she was
cool.
saying that before she even saw the show.
And I love, like, this little detail. I don't think they had this in 2022, but, like, during Number of the Beast and Iron Maiden and stuff, they had, like, the lava cracks flowing through the riser.
Oh, I never noticed
Yeah,
that.
it was like a moving LED light that made it look like there was real lava going through the stage. And then, of course, we have the Senjutsu stage that we were supposed to get that got added onto Legacy 2022, and that is just cool.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
great.
amazing. I would have loved to have seen the full tour.
The full production
The
they would have
full
had
production
planned.
of that. But I can't believe they managed to pull that down
know.
and continue Legacy. Like, Legacy was already the biggest show they ever did.
No. And then, we had Senjutsu Eddie make his debut for that first song. Like, when has Eddie, like, how often has Eddie come out during a first song?
I don't think ever.
I don't know, some of those, like, earlier tours that he very well could have,
The
but,
first
like,
tour.
it's not common, for sure.
That Eddie is one of the best
Oh,
we've
yeah,
seen.
it's so cool. But, no, I love just, it's like you got 4 stages in one, kind of.
Yeah.
So I have to give it to that. That was just the crew obviously put so much work into making it work and everything.
Right.
There was just an immense amount of thought and care put into it. So
And all the fun put into it that was added in during the tour, with the TNT box at the end to Run to the Hills.
that wasn't planned from the beginning.
No. So they just slayed it on
Yeah.
Legacy.
So that is my number 1 overall. Like I
So
find
that's your favorite stage they've ever done.
yeah. So I have trouble picking. Like I don't have like a favorite Maiden song. I don't have a favorite Maiden album, but I can comfortably say that is the best they've ever done.
Just thinking about what the stage looked like for Where Eagles Dare, just with Bruce in that costume and that backdrop, just, everything was so memorable. So to me, obviously, I didn't see the '88 tour. That one sticks in my mind as the greatest looking stage.
That's number 2 for me.
I'm not picking a favorite. I'm just saying it's that one. I think Legacy was huge, and I think World Slavery. I think those 3. Shout out to Book of Souls and Final Frontier. I think those 5 for me
Dance
are the
of
best.
Death.
Yeah, and all the others. But
Just Maiden does a very good job at putting productions
Yes.
together.
And it's
so.
a whole part of the speculation of going forward as we wonder what everything's going to look like.
I know, it was like, I just raked over in my head so much how this Future Past tour would look. Like, if it would look like, the last Somewhere in Time tour, if we'd have the blow-up Cyborg Eddie with the hands and stuff. And I could have never dreamed of what it actually looked like, to be quite honest. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't expect that look at all, but I was, like, really pleasantly surprised by how good it was.
Well, it was such a strange idea to put these albums together. So we were just like, how are they possibly going to put these together?
Yeah.
But I think they did it well.
I remember after, like, the shock of seeing all the color on that backdrop, I was just kind of like, there's not a whole lot going on here. And then through the show, I was just like, oh, God, the gun. Actually, the gun got revealed to us. Like, while we were waiting at that first show, like, the crew was messing with something, and, like, the
cloth
just,
fell
like,
off.
fell. We're all just like, ah.
Guns.
We didn't know what it was for. Like, we didn't know what songs they were playing and what song it could possibly be used for. But, yeah, it's just, like, as that show went on, like, oh, my God. And then Hell on Earth, you're just like, holy shit, this is amazing. So, yeah,
They're
that's...
still functioning at a very high level for the stage shows.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if anything gets added in this year.
They might have a couple little ideas.
They throw some stuff in now and then, but oh yeah, I forgot to mention Book of Souls fighting Eddie and taking his heart and throwing it into the crowd. Production value.
Right. So please let us know if you have Eddie's heart at your house.
I know a few people who do, surprisingly.
We'll comment below.
Spongy and bloody and gross. So that's that. Thank you for letting us ramble to you again about one of our favorite subjects.
Please comment below what your favorite stages were and the stages you've seen them do back in the day, maybe that we didn't see.
Yeah. Because God, there's so much to choose from. I love Iron Maiden. There's just so much to think about with this band.
I sure do love Maiden.
Me every morning.
Every day.
Anyways, thank you guys as always for watching.
Yeah, we have noticed that we've had a wee bit of growth over the last few weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot of new people here, and I think I said this in the last video. I don't know how many of you will stick around for our long form content, but those of you who do, Hi, welcome. I'm Steph. This is James. We like to talk about Iron Maiden and other bands, but mostly Iron Maiden here.
And you'll see during our vlog cycles
Yeah.
what band we like to see the most.
Yeah. Anyways, as I said, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.